More. Today, we'll look back on the Vols' big win against Bama and set the stage for today's matchup with Vanderbilt. Carson Newman assistant football coach Tony Iruli will be with us. Donnie Moore will update us on high school scores and news from around the area. And then Mark It Down with Marcus Fitzsimmons, sponsored by Mandy B. Street Realty, features Samuel Everett School of Innovation Wrestling. The Anderson Lumber Company Player of the Week segment will be in the lineup as Marcus Fitzsimmons and the panel talk some local high school basketball. Donnie Moore returns to discuss headlines from around the sports world before the Boyd Sports Spotlight shines on college basketball as we break down the SEC standings and present today's lineup of game. And finally, the bowl prediction segment closes out today's show as our panel will make some pro football playoff picks and some SEC basketball picks. And now it's time for the Cherokee Group UT Sports Report and the Murphy's Bobcat SEC Notebook, featuring Marcus Fitzsimmons and Donnie Moore, and Carson Newman assistant football coach Tony Iruli is with us this morning. And I want to wish all of you a good morning, and I appreciate all of you the last 2 or 3 weeks filling in for me, and had a tough go there. Yep. And I'm back now, and I feel a lot better. But I do appreciate Marcus and Donnie and Tony and all of you filling in the last 3 weeks. I think that's the longest I've ever been gone from this show since I've been around. And I'm glad to be back, I can tell you that.
It is, Mike, and it's great to have you back. We sure missed you around these parts.
Yeah. Well,
and it's tough filling in for you, too. You bring a lot to the show.
I don't think they like my reindeer games. I really don't. I thought I was bringing something new and fresh.
It was a good deal, Marcus. we like that. So we can handle that again sometime.
Yeah. Well, I certainly appreciate all that
Glad to have you back.
all that you did. And since I'm back, I've got a little bit of letter rip this morning. I'm ripping the pro football playoffs this morning a little bit.
Hey, let's do it.
Hey, the season has been extended so much that playing the games in the pro football playoffs has now become a normality, so to speak, and playing below zero temperatures and a foot of snow poses a danger to players and fans. In fact, I believe up in Buffalo, they even recruited fans to shovel out the snow in the stadium so that they could play.
They did, paying them $20 an hour to come in and shovel snow.
Yeah, I know there are all kinds of traditions that exist with football, and I know there's a lot of diehard people that say, hey, football's supposed to be played in all kinds of weather, let's play it. But I think that came about back in the days before they extended football into January and February. You know, Tony, back in the day, it was over in December, the pros were,
Right,
in the
and,
NFL.
I would get, I get things on Facebook saying, hey, remember when the Dolphins won the Super Bowl? It was like January 3rd.
Yeah.
Like when the Super Bowl was being played back then and all that. Now it's not going to be till February 6th.
February 11th.
Well,
month later.
I guess
spring training baseball starts only about a month later. Give me a break.
I guess it's easy for all of us to say, well, I'll tell you what, I like watching them play in that snow. Look at that snow coming down. You can hardly see the field as we sit there in our 70-degree living rooms watching the game.
Yeah.
With a cup of hot chocolate in our hand there.
This is my concern is, one, they extended the NFL season by another game. So now it's 17 games?
17 games over 18 weeks.
17 games over 18 weeks.
Plus the preseason games. So you're basically add 3 more.
And so you added another round of playoffs to it like this. I mean, if they're truly interested in the players' health and well-being, they're not showing it.
No.
I mean, it's kind of neat, kind of watching football games in the snow and all that. But listen, when those guys make tackles and land on that frozen tundra, all right, in their head, if you're worried about head concussions and things like that, I mean, you just open an opportunity for many more of those type of injuries to occur.
I think it's time to do kind of what the colleges have done, because they pushed it back. Have them on neutral sites, either in warmer weather or dome stadiums, leading up into the Super Bowl. But that's just me talking. Yeah. You take this scenario. If college were on this system, Alabama would have played Michigan in Ann Arbor, Tony, in the playoffs up there. That would have been interesting.
Yeah, that would.
Wow.
But like I said, it's they say a lot of things about worried about the players' health and condition like this. They don't demonstrate it by the way their schedule is. Plus, you got what is it, 4 preseason games, or is it?
It's being cut back. I think it's being cut back to 3. I think that was the trade-off. But you're basically talking, if you're going to the Super Bowl, you're paying 23 or 24 games.
Sure.
And you're basically going from –
practice starts basically at the end of July.
Voluntary workouts start in June.
Yeah.
And you're going to February, so you got a 4-month window to get yourself put back together.
Yeah, and again, when they say voluntary workouts, that's with quotations. It's
Right.
called voluntary workouts, but your butt better be there.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Well, unless you're in the range where you're being paid 7 figures or 8 figures a game,
right?
Then you can have holdouts and you can walk away. But if you're just a regular guy trying to make that 53-man roster, you're there.
You're there. Exactly right.
Hey, let's talk about the big news around these parts. Former Colorado Rockies and former Tennessee Volunteer player Todd Helton is going to the Baseball Hall of Fame. Marcus, that's big news. And first of all, I don't think very many SEC players have made it to the Baseball Hall of Fame. Certainly this is a well-deserving honor for him. He got 79.7% of the vote. And he's come a long way since the first round of voting, because the first round of voting, when he was first up on the ticket, I think he only got about 16%. Mm-hmm. But, he batted .316, but a great honor for him and this area.
It really is. And, I'm kind of prejudiced, I'll admit it, because I was at UT when he was playing. In fact, I actually dug around and found my 1995 SEC Champions hat from UT. But, he was a special player in college, and I think people tend to forget because of his pro career, but he was a great pitcher. He was sterling pitcher in college and in high school over at Central. And I'm glad he's in, because when that first time he was on the ballot, we were talking about, we got 16%. They're going to hold the fact that all of his hitting stats come at playing in Colorado, that they're going to hold that against him and give him a downgrade. So I'm glad that they didn't and put him in, and we're not sitting here saying, well, it'll be another 20 years and he'll get in maybe when the veterans are voting.
Yeah. And people forget, he also played football.
He played football.
He was back up behind Peyton Manning.
No, he was.
Yeah, no, he was a starter.
Was he not?
He was. The starter was hurt.
Okay.
Helton started the second game.
Georgia.
And he got dinged up and nobody knew about it. Played the next game and had to go out, and that was when they put Manning and it escapes me the guy he was competing with. Yep. But Helton and both freshmen played in Game 3 before Manning became the starter.
I saw the game he played. I went down to Georgia to watch that game, and Helton started the game down in Georgia. I think that's the second game that Marcus is talking about, and he got injured down there. And they put Peyton in the game. Tennessee won the game, I believe, at Georgia, if memory serves me right. And then the next week, Helton decided to take baseball, and he left football.
Right. I remember I was at Sanford, and I went up to watch the Tennessee when they played Vanderbilt. And I was on the sideline watching the game, and I couldn't get over how really big, Peyton Manning and Helton were. Side by side each other like that, and so it's great. And I was a big concern also as well, because they try to make against Helton for him playing at Colorado, and throughout his career and all that, and he would have done great wherever he was.
And he, if you remember when he won several early in his career, he had several batting titles, whatever. He was also a good first baseman. He was very solid at the position, and had the good size where he could reach out there, and he could pretty much, if you got it close to him, he was going to get a hold of it.
Right.
There weren't a lot that got by him. And I thought he played a lot of positions at UT because they moved him around to try to keep him in the lineup and put him on the mound, but he's always just been just like a very grounded type of player. You've never seen him really, talking about himself in the third person or doing some of the crazy stuff. He's just been like a everyday go to work. I play a game, but I love it, and I'm going to get better at it.
And I think what's kind of amazing, Donnie, I'm going to hit you on this one. What's kind of amazing is, he played out there at Colorado those 17 seasons, and, they weren't a World Series contender. A lot of these guys go into Hall of Fame, they've been in the World Series or they've had some things happen in that regard. But, he's sort of like the Manning down at New Orleans, Archie.
Yeah.
Remember, he's down there. He never had. His teams down there just struggled his whole career. And it was kind of the Archie Manning show. But that's refreshing that he played 17 years out there. He hit 345 at Coors Field. So he gave them their money's worth out there for sure.
He sure did. Yeah. And that's there's nothing wrong with that. He has to play somewhere, and if it's at Coors Field, and he hits home runs out there, but he hit for a great average too.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
So he didn't just hit home runs.
Yeah. Marcus, I want to ask you, from 2000 to 2004, that's going back a little bit in his career, he hit 372, 336, 329, 358, and 347. Are those the years that put him in the Hall of Fame, those from 2000 to 2004?
With a normal player going in the Hall, I would say yes. In his case, I think it's not so much because those are the years they hold against him. But I think it's the longevity that put him in, that he was that good for that long.
Yeah.
And proved that it wasn't just he was hitting at Colorado half his games. His average was coming at other ballparks. I believe there was even a year in there where his batting average away from Coors Field was higher than it was at Coors Field.
Yeah.
Right. And I remember they always would make a comparison on what his averages were, his stats were in Colorado compared to on the
of
course.
course.
And for most of the time they're pretty equal to it and all that. And and it's a great story. I believe he's the only person from the state of Tennessee to go in the Hall of Fame. I might be wrong, but I believe he might be the only one.
Well, I think
I know Marcus is thinking right now.
I'm not thinking that's right, but I'm also trying in my mind to think,
who else?
What are our odds of getting Charlie in, and how would we do that? Does he count as being from Tennessee?
If I was going to make another vote, it'd be for Charlie.
Yeah. Hey, I want to talk a little bit about Todd Helton and the fact the decision he made not to play football right there when he was at UT. That had to be a really tough decision for him because, listen, I saw him play. I was at Farragut High School. I saw him play at Central.
Yeah.
And
he was good.
He was a dual quarterback. He was a left-hand quarterback, and he could throw it. He could run it.
Yeah.
And people in this area, this is a football area, Tony.
Yeah.
I mean, people are all zeroed in on UT football, and I'm sure coming out of high school, he got a lot of pressure to play football at UT.
Absolutely.
So to make that decision there not to play could have been a life-changing decision for him, because if he had continued to play and got hurt, we may not be talking about this morning.
True.
If he tore up a knee or whatever. But you got to admire him that he, right there. I mean, he didn't wait to the end of the season. He got hurt and said, "Hey, this is not for me. I'm going to concentrate on baseball." And a lot of people thought that's what he should have been doing in the first place, because he could have gone right to the pro ranks right out of high school as far as baseball is concerned.
Right? Wasn't he like maybe the fourth or fifth round coming out of high school?
I think he was.
And, let me tie them together for you, Mike, because you're hitting on you touched in the area that kind of goes back to what we're talking about with football. And at the same time Helton came out, I think he was a year behind, and we've had his son on the show. Scott Gallion was at Seymour.
Yeah.
He came out. He went to UT as a linebacker, but he was also a great pitcher. Also really could have played baseball for the Vols. Chose to concentrate on football. He went in and played the NFL career. His NFL career was only 4 or 5 seasons. I think maybe 6, kind of some of the injuries. You had very comparable athletes, but what the NFL will do to your body compared to what Major League Baseball would do to your body, if you had the option, given what you know now about concussions and everything else, you would think baseball would be siphoning more talent away from football, but that's not what we're seeing.
Yeah. Well, you think of a Bo Jackson. He tried to play football and baseball. If he'd have just played played baseball, he would have been a whole lot better off, wouldn't he, Tony?
Yeah.
Because he had the football, and he was great in both of them.
He was something else.
He couldn't give up one or the other, and it cost him.
Still got the longest home run that's ever been hit out of Lindsey Nelson.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody else has hit a train.
Donnie, Todd Helton played for, you hear all kinds of stories. I heard these when I was over at Farragut, because John Heatherly, the baseball coach at Farragut, and I, we had the same office together, and he was real good friends with Bud Bales, the coach at Central. So I got a lot of Todd Helton. I think Bales understood that, and Heatherly had him in some AAU ball. They understood this guy had something that nobody else had, at that particular time, talent-wise. But he would talk about how during basketball season they would put put the net up and a batting cage up above in the area up there in the gym, roll the bleachers in and put that deal up there, and every day Todd Helton would get in there and hit 1,000 balls in that batting cage. Now, I mean, that takes a lot of dedication.
Sure,
you think of kids today, to get them to hit 50 balls in there, because getting in the batting cage, that's not the most glamorous thing, Donnie. You've been there.
Of course.
Because the ball's not going anywhere.
No, it's not.
You're working on timing and all the other aspects
timing
of
and
hitting.
technique is what you're working on.
But, kids today, they want to see that ball go out there and go over the fence or go to the outfield or whatever, you see. But that kind of stuff made Todd Helton.
It did.
There's no doubt about it. And they haven't talked a lot about Bud Bales, but I'll tell you, he probably deserves a lot more credit than they've been giving him with all this going on. I'm sure Todd Helton will give him credit when he gets up there and starts talking.
Yeah, and like I said, and you just think about, he's a local hometown hero in a way. He's Central High School. It's only 15 minutes from UT campus. I mean, he grew up basically on UT's campus, and again, him going to UT, trying to play both sports. I think part of the reason why, which made the decision to just concentrate on baseball, is that he saw Archie Manning there. Peyton Manning there as well, and he said, okay, he's probably going to be the guy. All right, so it's going and just concentrating on baseball, which he probably thought that was his best sport.
Right.
I think that was absolutely the right decision.
And it's kind of they've had a relationship that's been well documented between Todd and Peyton. But the fact they both ended their career, Todd's was always in Denver, but Peyton's career ends in Denver as well.
Yeah, that's right.
And they had some overlap there where going to each other's games and sort of things where they had some overlap. I think that was a great thing for both of them, and it kind of says something about the quarterback room they had at UT at that time. Mm-hmm. When Peyton was a freshman and Helton was a sophomore, junior that year.
Yeah.
Donnie, it's been a good 12 months for Tennessee as far as greatness is concerned. You got Joseph Newgarden won the greatest race in the world, the Indianapolis 500. Now you got Todd Helton going to Baseball Hall of Fame. It's been a pretty good run for Tennessee here in the last 12 months.
Yeah,
as far as great things happening here.
Nice year for the Tennesseans.
Yeah, for sure. Hey, let's talk a little bit about Tennessee basketball here this morning.
I knew that was a lead-in. That was a great lead-in to Tennessee basketball, by the way. Yeah. Great things about Tennessee, and now let's go Tennessee
talk about some more great things. I was worried about them. I left town, and all heck breaks loose down here. They get beat at Mississippi State, and I'm going, what's going on here? Yeah. And then we had all the coaches leave. Saban leaves, Belichick leaves, and guy out in Seattle leaves, and I'm going, well, I better get back.
I don't see what happens.
If I don't get back pretty soon, the sports world's going to go in the tank here. So, but anyway, I know last Saturday I wasn't feeling very good, but Alabama and Tennessee.
Alabama wasn't either.
Yeah, it didn't look like they were. They were still. They looked like they was playing outside. On paper, it looked like it was going to be a great game.
It did.
Bama, averaging 90-some points a game, and you look for an offensive showing, and, all the offense and defense was on the Tennessee side. They scored 91, and Bama couldn't throw it in the ocean. I mean, they just could not do anything with the basketball. And I don't know, maybe it had to do with, their trip was all messed up, plane arrangements, and sometimes that can disrupt your flow. But I don't know.
What led to it is a couple of days earlier they played against Florida.
Yeah.
And it really just played a great game against Florida, and was very complete. And they just carried that momentum right into the Alabama
this
game.
Is a tough place to play over here. Tennessee's 10-0 so far on their home court, and not very many teams have won in here. In fact, on all the courts in the Southeastern Conference, Marcus, I think 80% of the games the teams are winning on their home court. Kentucky's struggling on the road a little bit. Tennessee very fortunate to have won down at Georgia there a couple of weeks ago. They were on the road. They were down 12 or 13 points with about 5 minutes to go and came out of that game. But
that's the game I think has stuck out to me as a possible turnaround that we might look back on depending on how the next couple of weeks develop. Because we had talked about it before that game, that Tennessee's inability to close out in the final minutes, their ability to wilt and disappear and not seem very organized about what they wanted to do when a close game. And at Georgia, they finally did that and came away with the win. And they've been playing a lot more confident basketball ever since then.
Yeah. Complete games.
Well, I'll tell you right now, all eyes and all thinking right now, this Dalton Connect, he's really got the volunteer faithful paying attention to him and the offense that he's showing out there. And what a start that he has had to the season. And, of course, he got 25 points against Alabama and really didn't have a great game. I mean, it was a little subpar from what he has been putting up, but he put up 25, and he has sort of been that missing link in the Vol offense from the last couple of years, and he has been outstanding. Played 36 minutes. Marcus, if he continues to play 36 minutes to 40 minutes every game, do you see him as the season goes on maybe wearing down a little bit or not?
Well, the one he didn't play those types of minutes on the cupcake part of the schedule. He was playing light minutes. He was playing 19, 20, a lot of those cupcake games. I don't think we're going to see him used as much, but it's interesting to me that they're keeping him out there that long, giving that he is, by comparison, not speaking overall, but by comparison to the other players on the team, he's the weak spot defensively. So the fact they're keeping him out there that long says something about they're willing to sacrifice something to keep him on the court.
Yeah, well, he's resting on defense. You got to rest a little bit, right, Tony? Yeah, if you're scoring 25 or 35 points, heck, you got to go down on the defensive end, give yourself a little bit of break.
Yeah, you got to let that forearm
kind of loosen up.
Shooting so many times.
I don't know. If I was them, I would just say, hey, right now, I'd just say give the ball to Connect, and you other guys get around the goal up there, and maybe you'll get a rebound, and maybe you won't. Yeah. I don't know.
I tell you, watch him play against Florida. I mean, everything that – shooting with such great confidence.
He's a real pleasure to watch. He doesn't really take, any bad shots. He's pretty unselfish. If he doesn't have it, he'll hit the open man.
Yeah.
But he's so good driving to the basket and making things happen with the basketball. Yeah. He hurts you in so many different ways.
And what's good is also the team realizes that he's got the hot hand. And so they're finding ways to feed him the ball, and, he's been the guy right now.
And what I love about his game is he doesn't just settle for a three. He brings that thing that Tennessee's been missing, which is he can get the ball at the three-point line and look at the basket and decide if he's going to put it up there or if he's going to drive it in on you.
Yeah.
And that not being able to just count on him to fall back and put up a three has really disrupted defenses because they can't just play the three-point line. They've got to defend the interior as well, and that opens up the entire outside for Tennessee.
In a way, it kind of reminds me of a Larry Bird type of player.
Yeah.
I remember many times Larry Bird's outside the three-point line, and they're rushing out there to get him because he can make it, and he gets a little head and pump fake and then drives.
Yeah, one head fake and a move, and Larry could go by and connects. You're right. Has that kind of capability.
He's taken the majority of the shots, Donnie. And listen, if you got the hot hand, you want him shooting the ball.
You sure do.
But on the other hand, you're looking at Vescovi and you're looking at James, two solid offensive scorers.
Yeah.
And you look at the last few games, they're not getting very many shots. I mean, Vescovi and James against Alabama, James got 3 shots and Vescovi got 7. Now, is this at some point going to catch up with this basketball team if they put the whammy on Connect and these guys have sort of been put on the back burner back here? Is it going to catch up with them? Do we need to have a little bit more balance, get some more shots for these guys, or are we okay with what's happening right here?
Well, we need to be able to get more shots for these guys if they can shoot it. If they get to where they can't put the ball in the basket, then we're hurt.
Yeah,
and I think you'll see it the evolution of the season. And I think it'll be interesting to see what happens today because I don't think there's a Player of the Week award Connect did not win this week between Monday and Tuesday.
Yeah.
So when a team starts trying to shut him down and makes him their defensive priority, well, you're giving up something to do that. So that is the point where you need a Ziegler or a James or a Vescovi to step up in that hole. But we got to see somebody do that first.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, Jonas Adu, what a job he's been doing. I mean, he got 19
amazing.
points
amazing
against
growth.
Alabama. He was 9 for 14, and Jordan Gainey came in, got 15 points. And they got some guys they're developing some depth. You know, Meshack got 28 minutes in the game, and Waka and Estrella and DeLeon, and, you know, they all got playing time. You know, they're starting to develop some depth to go along with their inside and outside play. Tony, this is a scary basketball team right now. I don't know. They're going to be hard to beat, hard to defense.
Yep.
They're not only scoring points, they're playing defense. And when you got both of those going, they're a tough out.
Mm-hmm. It's a coach. That's how he develops his teams.
Yeah,
I mean,
coach's dream.
I mean, he puts together a solid unit that plays. You know, obviously, Coach Barnes is going to have great defenses.
Sure,
you know, that's been his mantra. But you know, he believes in a complete offensive defense, and so.
And you got your wish, Mike.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because you look at the numbers, Tennessee's averaging about almost 10, like 9.7 points more a game this year than they did last year.
Yep.
But they're also giving up about 9.5 more points a game.
Yep.
But it's that it's not the drag down. What did you call it last year? Droopy ball or something?
No. Yeah, like pulling teeth. What it was like. Watching.
It's a nice blend between that defensive priority.
Yeah. And I really like what they're doing, you know, with scoring, and they're playing the defense, and with that depth, they're able to do some things on the court to really keep the other team off balance with their full court pressure. You know, picking guys up full court and that type of thing. I mean, it's just they've got all the ingredients. So before we get out of here, have they peaked?
No.
Has this basketball team peaked right now? I mean, they're playing as well as anybody in the country.
Yeah. I think what's going to also help them is that they've had this has been a bye week for them. So it got them an opportunity to go ahead and rest up those guys who have been playing a lot, kind of recover a little bit with their bodies, and get ready for the final push.
You're going to have a good this middle stretch is going to tell a lot about this team, because you've got Vanderbilt, you've got the first meeting with Kentucky. Yeah. You're going to get tested in there, and right now, if you look at it, there's 3 teams in this league that compete, and whether any of them have actually peaked, given what's going on with their rosters between Auburn, Kentucky, and Tennessee, I don't think any of them have peaked yet. I think Kentucky's probably got the best upper ceiling, given the 7-2 kid they just got cleared, but Tennessee has a lot of room to still develop on what you said. Those second-line scorers with Vescovy, with James, with Ziegler, when those guys get even more involved than they are now and are playing offensively with the confidence they have defensively right now, Tennessee could be really scary.
Yep. Hey, we'll take a timeout here. When we return, Donnie Moore will provide some high school scores and sports news from around the area, and veteran sports writer Marcus Fitzsimmons joins us with his feature Mark It Down. You're listening to the Sports Page, Blount County Sports Voice, and now stay tuned for the best in local sports.
It's payday, and on payday, you want to have access to your money right away. When you enroll for direct deposit at Knoxville TVA Employees Credit Union, your money comes to you with no waiting. It's the fastest and most secure way to get paid. Getting set up is easy. All you need is your account number and our routing number. Find out more at tvacreditunion.com.
Join us now.
Federally insured by NCUA. Some restrictions apply. Ask for details.
Since 1925, Anderson Lumber in Alcoa has proudly served and supported our local communities. But did you know Anderson Lumber is so much more than a lumber store? You can stop in anytime and see our incredible kitchen showroom. From floors to cabinets and everything in between, Anderson Lumber's experts can help you design your dream kitchen. And then our install team will make it a reality.
Wow.
For anything home, we welcome you to visit Anderson Lumber in Alcoa or shop over 67,000 items online at AndersonLumberCompany.com. Anderson Lumber, since 1925.
Aubrey's is known for real comfort, real food, real good. But remember, Aubrey's is also really into Blount County. Aubrey's Maryville has been a strong supporter of local schools and sports programs for more than 15 years. From baseball to football, dance teams, and marching bands, Aubrey's has helped schools and youth programs generate thousands of dollars. It's easy for us to do because it's the right thing to do. So the next time you're looking to choose a place to eat, we hope you'll choose Aubrey's. Real comfort, real food, real good. See what's on the menu at aubreysrestaurants.com.
Merlin's Music World in Maryville is owned and operated by Dylan Davis and has been a fixture in Maryville since 1987. Guitars, amplifiers, lessons, sound system, and video system installations are products available at Merlin's. Merlin's also offers a 24-track digital recording studio featuring audio engineer Rusty Chambers. Visit Merlin's at 1920 East Lamar Alexander Parkway or call 977-0093.
We all want our loved ones to be safe. Denso in Maryville is at the forefront of creating technology for safer vehicles. Join the automotive industry with Denso in a fast, challenging, clean, and safe environment. They offer great benefits and competitive pay, as well as a convenient on-site healthcare facility, cafes, fitness center, and more. Start your future now. Entry-level production positions start at $16 an hour for second or third shift. Visit densocareers.com/Maryville to learn more and apply.
Welcome back to the Goatees sports page, and time to bring in Donnie Moore, and we're going to talk a little bit about some of the high school basketball that was played in the area last night. And by golly, Donnie, there were some good reports out of the teams from the county, and then there was the other side.
Indeed, we got the bright side and the dark side, don't we?
Well, it's all yours.
Thank you, Mike. Let's go to the Mandy B. Street Realty local scoreboard, sponsored by, of course, Mandy B. Street Realty. Thanks to Mandy B. and her realty team for go to them for all your realty needs. Well, last night in local high school action, we got one post from Clayton Bradley. They hosted CAK last night in the boys action. CAK put it on Clayton Bradley 66-39. No post from the girls, so I don't know whether they just didn't play or whether they just didn't post their score, but maybe we can get a post from them next game. Eagleton versus AE last night. They hosted AE. Didn't get a post from the girls' game, but for the boys' game, fairly close game over at Eagleton. Austin East defeated Eagleton 71-61 in boys' action. Greenback hosted Oakdale last night, and we didn't get a post from the boys' game, but in the girls' action, close game over there at Greenback. Oakdale beat Greenback 40-36. Moving on to Heritage at South Doyle last night. Heritage took a twin bill in that game. Those games in girls action, Heritage beat South Doyle 52-24. Lady Mountaineers rolled in that contest, Mike. They're doing well this season.
They're dominating that division that they're in.
They sure are. That was a good move for them.
Yeah.
And in boys action, that was a good move too. They scored 52 as well. South Doyle came up with 41, so the Mountaineers won by 11 last night. They did well in that move.
Yeah, they really have. I think it has really it's helped the girls. The girls would have performed well whether they had stayed in the same classification or not.
You're right.
They've always, had great tradition in their girls basketball program over there. Rick Howard does such an outstanding job.
He does a great job.
But I think it's really benefited the boys. I think now they're where they need to be as far as the classification.
Well, did they move down in classifications?
Yeah, one deal. Yeah.
Yep. Maryville went to Bearden last night, went to the Doghouse. Always a tough place to play, isn't it, Mike?
Yeah, there's not a tougher place around than over there. If you can win over there, you get on the bus and you're feeling real good about yourself. Unfortunately, you don't feel very good most of the time.
Most of the time, you're right. It's always a tough place to play over at Bearden. But Maryville went over to Bearden last night, and they were not happy on the return ride home. Girls action, Bearden won that one 49-33. And the Bulldogs whipped up on the Rebels last night in boys action 65-59. And Maryville was leading the district along with William Blunt, weren't they?
And
Marcus.
that was a bit of a revenge game for Bearden, because in that first meeting they came over here. They were missing. I think they were missing 2 guys, including their second leading scorer. And Maryville blasted them early. It had like a 20-point lead in the second quarter, and Chris cruised to that one. Mm-hmm. I think Bearden was waiting for a little bit of payback in this one.
And they didn't have to wait long. They got it last night.
Because he's their second leading scorer, but they're a lot different team with him on there, because they have so they can do so much more when he's on the floor.
Right. Another score of interest that I wanted to let you know about. Farragut last night traveled to West, and in girls action, good gracious, Farragut won this one 78-9.
What?
Yes, you heard that right. 78-9.
9 points.
You know, sometimes I wonder. You know, in football they have the mercy rule.
There's a mercy rule in basketball.
There is.
There is.
Was that it?
Okay, well,
78-9.
That's in discussion right there then.
But that must have upset the West boys a little bit, because they came back and beat Farragut in the nightcap 57-54.
Okay.
But good gracious,
the boys' side of this district is just ridiculous.
It is.
It really is, because you're basically looking at maybe 3, maybe 4 teams that could possibly be state tournament level, and
a lot
only
of
2 of them are even
going
to get your region out of this district.
I know that's sad too, because there's some good teams.
For the girls, something must be going on behind the scenes.
Well, they're 0-14.
West is having a really tough year, and this is not the first single-digit game I think they've had, but I think it's the first time where somebody's looked like they were going for 80 against them.
Yeah.
Wow.
And a couple of shockers over at William Blount last night.
Tough ones.
Tough night for the Govs and Lady Govs. In the girls' game, William Blount blew a 19-point lead at the end of the third quarter, and came back and lost 50-48.
Wow.
Blew a 19-point lead
going into the fourth.
Going into the fourth quarter.
You know, Tony, as a coach, when you lose one like that, you just find the nearest barrel in the locker room and you throw up. You know, pretty much, don't you?
Yeah. You may not make it to the locker room.
And then you go home and you sit in a chair and you just look at the walls.
Our old buddy Troy Provo Heron said he was going to dig a hole and crawl into it.
Yeah.
Well, they're not the first program that's been there.
No, absolutely.
You know, and they won't be the last. But
and I kind of like it with Troy being on the coaching side of things. Because it's changed his commentary.
Exactly.
You know what? That was the one thing Troy needed. He needed to be humbled. Didn't he? Humbled a little bit, Marcus.
And he was
just humbled a little bit, not a lot, just a little.
I was going to say he needed a haircut, but it's all right. Go ahead. We can go with humbled.
And then in boys action last night, the Govs fell last night too to Hardin Valley, 63-58. They got down by 15 or 16 points as well, and mounted a good comeback, but just a little short, too late.
I thought that was a little surprising, that score last night. I thought.
Yeah, I thought so too.
You know, I think they came in. I think Hardin Valley came in at 11-8, 11-9.
I think that's close.
But they played the Dean Smith offense last night. They went 4 corners. You know, the whole ball game.
I don't know what else you would really do against William Blount.
I don't know either.
I can't think of a better challenge for William Blount than trying to defend 4 corners.
That's tough. That's tough.
And that does not play to William Blount's
And they had some guys that could handle the ball, penetrate, and
got
kick
the Govs
off.
In foul trouble.
It's a tough deal to defense if you have to defense that, because people, if you drive in, an underneath guy's got to commit. Well, that leaves somebody open under the basket and into the corner, and they played it really well. And in fact, in that ball game, Hardin Valley could have won going away there at the end, but they missed a bunch of free throws.
Yeah, they did. Didn't shoot the free throws well.
And
final score 63-58 in favor of the Hawks. Yeah. One national letter of intent signed this week, and it was Lily Marsh of Alcoa, signed with Union College of Barberville, Kentucky, to continue her athletic and academic career for softball.
Very good.
So congratulations to Lily Marsh.
And great for her, because she told the paper she wasn't 100% positive she was going to continue playing at points in high school, and Sarah's just done a great job bringing her along and developing her, and it's turned out really well.
Yeah, she's.
And I'm looking forward to seeing what this senior season is going to be like for her at Alcoa.
I am too.
Marcus,
she's a good
the
player.
Marshes and Alcoa, that's sort of a synonymous name over there, isn't it or not, huh?
Yeah,
it is.
Sure
Remember, we got there's some Marshes starting for Heritage Boys, too. Remember that?
Yeah, you're right. You're right about that.
The branches are moving out.
They're branching out.
You are exactly right. You're exactly right. Well, that's it for the local scoreboard this week, sponsored by our friends over at Mandy B Street Realty.
You didn't sell that real well, Donnie. You want to try it again?
Give it one more shot.
Yeah. Mandy B Street Realty.
There you go.
He was having a senior moment there, you know.
I think he was having.
He was looking around for help, and we were all having senior moments.
We're all like, hey, don't
unfortunately,
we'd like
those
to help
are
you,
becoming
Donnie,
more and more
but you're
often.
looking at three other guys.
I'm saying, don't look at me.
Don't look at me.
Unfortunately, those are becoming more and more often, guys. I'm going to kick it to my friend and colleague Marcus Fitzsimmons for his segment. Mark it down.
Yeah, I'm going to give Donnie. I'm going to give these guys, and I'm glad they're here. I'm going to give them a good introduction. But the acronym this morning, when I put the full name of the cooperative team together, I was convinced we were going to be talking about the search for extraterrestrial life. Because I don't know if you can say Sesi Ikaka without making it sound like something else altogether. But we're joined by region champions as of Friday night, or Thursday night rather. Samuel Everett School of Innovation cooperative with the Everett College and Career Academy wrestling team. And their coaches joined us this morning, brought a couple wrestlers. And let me just say, very truncated postseason for wrestling because of the snows and the weather.
Definitely.
We ended up, we talked about basketball rescheduling a little bit, but we ended up with districts on basically being getting done on Tuesday, some on Wednesday, regionals being done on Thursday, and sectionals being done on Friday. We put 3 weeks of postseason in about 4-day schedule, and these guys they look refreshed. But I will tell you, last night they looked like they had been wrestling for 3 days and had some soreness and bruises to go with it.
I can imagine.
Coach Evans, thanks for joining us this morning. Congratulations on the region championship for a school that's really only been wrestling 3 years.
Yes.
And y'all are bringing home that plaque. That has got to feel good for this team.
Yeah, it does. You know, like I told you last night, there was no teams competing in sectional duels that had been either region runner-up or region champion that are only in the third year of being a program. So, you know, it's quite an accomplishment, and it's really, you know, shows how much these kids have bought in. I mean, we had one senior in our lineup last night and 2 juniors, and then everybody else was 8th grade through sophomore.
And I'm going to say I was impressed by one of those 8th graders. He makes really good photos, by the way. I don't know if you've seen the papers this morning, but fiery little guy and just a tough wrestler last night. Really helped you out with the starting state section last night.
Yeah. So it's actually his brother. Yeah. So he's, you know, he came out 3 years ago, had never wrestled before. He had wrestled 1 year prior to that as a 6th grader. And, you know, you see stuff in the practice room and you think, well, these other kids are all kind of fresh too. So, you know, he's beating these kids. But, you know, and then we start putting him in tournaments. I start him out in beginner tournaments, and he's just going out there. And other coaches are like, hey, he shouldn't be in this tournament. And I said, well, he's only been wrestling 2 months. And they're like, well, I guess he should be in this. so he quickly advanced to higher level tournaments and, you know, placed in the state in 6th and 7th grade year in the middle school level. And then so this year it was a no-brainer. He's like, well, I'm dominating in the middle school level. I said, well, come dominate in the high school level.
He seems to be taking you to heart on that.
Yeah.
I'll give the recap. You had district tournament early in the week. Top of this district, you have UAll, Heritage, and Alcoa in the same district, which I'll hold my peace about where they move the lines to that allows that to happen. But you all come out on top of that one, win district. You go to regional, made the drive out to Cumberland County, and you get a tough team out there with Stone Memorial, Cumberland County to go through, and y'all come out with the region title there. Hosted the state sectional last night, and you get the number 2 team in the state, and put up one of the better matches we saw in sectional scores that came out last night. So, and I just wanted to give the people listening the recap. Like I said, you got to feel good about it, but you brought 2 guys with you that were a big part of those this week. Kind of introduce them and where they're wrestling and what they're doing for you.
Yeah. So these are my 2 captains. Sophomore Colton Relation, he wrestles 126 for me, and then junior Logan Camp, he wrestles 32. Although last night he wrestled all the way 2 weight classes up at 144. But it was just, it's one of those, like, those guys have 2 brothers on their team that are not, nobody in the state touches them. They're nationally ranked. They have 2 older brothers that compete at Army right now as wrestlers, and they're probably going to follow them and be Division I wrestlers. So this guy was, unfortunately, he was in a log jam where he was going to wrestle one of the 2 no matter what. And so he had to wrestle the older one, and it was really just shows what he's willing to do for this team, that he was willing to go out there, and it was making them burnt because they knew, other than that older brother, they didn't have anybody else that could beat him. So they had, that was what they had to do. So I was, it prevented them from bumping that kid up a weight class because he had to wrestle him. So that, really helped us in him. So, there's so much more strategy to this than people realize. They just think you send a kid out and they wrestle. So we intentionally had him weigh in over his weight class last night to ensure that he wouldn't have to wrestle one of the brothers. And so, and he knew his job was to go out there and pin whoever we put him against. So, he had to go wrestle a kid naturally 15 pounds heavier than him and pinned him in the first period.
And the most interesting part of that was right there at the beginning. Your team captains are a sophomore and a junior. Yeah. And I think that speaks to how young the program is. And that says a lot more, even more about what you all were able to accomplish. So let me pick on the captains and put them on the spot. Let's see how they do. Colton, I think that the thing that stuck out to me the first time I saw y'all wrestle was y'all are this team seems very tight, but you're coming from 2 different schools. How do y'all? How did the bonding take place there? Because you got guys from 2 different schools, and y'all got to ride buses and get to practice together. How do y'all form the bonds to be a team?
Well, also it came from football season in the beginning because we played football with a lot of the guys that came there. So I'd say most of the connections probably from football.
So some of that carried over?
Yeah, probably so, yeah.
And even though wrestling has been varsity even long, when football was just his first year as varsity competition, but y'all been wrestling as varsity for season 3, right, Coach?
Yeah.
So what's starting out as the tradition for this team? What's the legacy y'all are building here?
I think we're trying to be able to build it to where make it to state duels, obviously. Trying to get a lot of guys to be able to go to state as well individually. Just trying to do good overall as well. I think so.
And Coach, he talked about the transition. We'll go ahead and put that out there. With wrestling, you've got the duels, which we just finished with. Mm-hmm. You get a little bit of time and turn around and do the individuals. And we have a whole other state tournament for that. But the team portion of this, really, with the duels, you got to feel good about what these guys did. And I'm going to say, especially with district, because this is, you all know everybody.
Yeah.
This wasn't like you all didn't know there was somebody. It's Heritage in Alcoa, and you know there's going to be some interesting matchups when y'all get that together.
Yeah. That's, these kids know each other. A lot of these kids have, the kids that have been wrestling a long time, they're wrestling kids they've been wrestling since maybe even elementary school in some of those matches. And so, there's a lot of familiarity there. And sometimes we got to remind them cooler heads prevail because, there is bad blood. It's part of sports. It's what makes them fun.
That's what rivalries are about.
You know, so I mean, to go from year one of our program, and Logan was there for that. You know, we only had 8, 9 kids out. We won one dual match the whole season, and didn't win any district matches, region matches, anything like that. We had one dual win the whole season. So then year 2, be district champions. Year 3, be district and region champions. You know, these guys just work hard, and they know what it takes to be good, and they go out every day, come to practice, and do it. And, you know, I have to tell them, when we get to this time every year, we kind of sit them down, and they've been getting the same speech since they were in middle and elementary school. You know, if an outsider came in and watched you guys practice every day and what all you have to go through, they would say, this sport sucks. Why does anybody do it? And, you know, the fun comes in because sports are supposed to be fun. The fun comes in winning. And you know, in this sport, that's really what it comes down to, because it's no fun to work as hard as we work and then go get beat.
Yeah, no, that's true. You know, I'll ask you, when you've got all this growth going on, you see yourselves getting better.
Yeah.
Can you can't chart that on the wall, but can you get that feeling like in November, December? Can y'all start to get that feeling that, hey, we're better than last year?
Yeah, it feels real good whenever you can go out there, see a team or a kid you've lost to before, and you go out there and beat them. It just raises the confidence so much, and the whole team morale. Like, we'll have my little brother Ryan, the 8th grader. He'll go out, wrestle first. He'll set the whole tone for the duel, and everybody's confidence just boosts up and go out there and wrestle good.
And, you know, talking about regionals on Thursday, you all started off really well, especially with the lower weight classes.
Mm-hmm.
We don't think of wrestling as a momentum sport, but
right.
When you see a duel going on and you can see guys getting pumped up and watching the match before them, is there a momentum that comes when duels come along and you're seeing your teammates winning matches before you that kind of can carry over into your own match?
Yeah, I think there is a real big momentum thing. You can go out there, you hear your teammates cheering, gives you a more confidence boost, take more shots, do better. I think it's a real big part of the sport.
And I'll give a kudos. You're not the biggest school in Class A, but for a state sectional on a Friday night where there's a lot of things going on, there was a good crowd over at Eagleton Elementary last night. Mm-hmm. That's got to feel good when you've got people out there cheering in the stands, and it's not just your teammates, but you got parents, you got some friends. There were a lot of people out there cheering for you guys last night. That's got to feel good.
Yeah, it's nice to know we got a lot of supporters for how really small we are. Everybody just comes out and watches us.
Coach, talk a little bit about what's going into this, because I see that you're still teaching the guys how to roll up mats.
Yeah.
Still going through some of those the growth of the program, I guess. So I'll give you the shout out point. Who's kind of been stepping in to help this program get going, to help you out?
So, you know, our principal, Justin Ridge, of course, you know, pretty much everybody in this town knows him. Between the success he was able to create for Greenback Wrestling, back in the early thousands, and then, with him being football coach at Greenback, football coach at William Blunt, AD at William Blunt, and then he comes to Everett. And, 4 years ago, I was teaching at Everett and assistant coach at Heritage. And he came up to me right at the end of the season, and he said, we're getting this thing rolling next year, and you're the head coach. And I was just like, okay. Yes, sir, boss.
That's a great interview. Yeah. Great interview.
And he, making things happen. I mean, we practice in the basement of Everett High School, and it used to be a shop class. We got a custom mat that fits wall to wall down there. It's not approved for competition, so it stays down there. We just go down there and we hammer, and we're still green at things like, because we don't really host a whole lot of stuff. So, like, as you could see last night, rolling out mats and rolling up mats is not exactly our specialty. But, to be where we're at, and you can look on the TLSAA website. We are the smallest school that has a wrestling team in the state of Tennessee. And conversely, Heritage is the biggest school that is in the single A classification. So, I mean, that makes it even better that, we were able to beat them.
And he says that like, I feel like he just poked Jerry over the radio. Like he just, hey, Coach.
You got him blushing right now, too.
Yeah, well.
it's all right.
So we'll put the toughest question of the day to the guys. Donnie, are you all right?
Yeah, we're
okay.
ready.
I'm going to put this both of them. Who had to guard the region championship plaque when you stopped at Buc-ee's, and what was the first priority at Buc-ee's on the way home?
Oh, well, we had a teammate named – well, we went to Buc-ee's before the duel so we could eat it after weigh-ins, and, we weren't going to go in after since we had to wrestle the next day, and we had a teammate named Wyatt. He had a little mission, and he snuck in Buc-ee's and bought us all snacks.
It's hard to resist because Stone Memorial is literally right across the interstate from Buc-ee's. Yeah. So you can smell the beaver nuggets from the parking lot. And I'm pretty sure you can hear that making that brisket announcement.
I'm sure you can.
But I will say this, as a frequent stopper there in my travels because of the gas prices, there's their plug for the day.
Yeah, you're a pro.
I have seen more wrestling teams in Buc-ee's in the last year than I have seen anything else. That is it's like the number one sport that's going to stop there has been wrestling. And Coach, I can only assume that's because of the brisket, or
for me it is personally. So funny, I wanted to get them there before, so that way they weigh in. That food starts digesting as quickly as possible for having to weigh in last night. And his little brother, 113-pounder, I'm walking around, and he's got a big old pudding cup in one hand and a thing of cookie dough bites in his other hand. And I snatched them out of his hand. I said, "Put that back." He said, "Well, what can I have, Coach?" I said, "Buddy, you can pick any of those sandwiches you want, but this is probably one of the last things you get to eat till tomorrow night, so you need something substantial in your body."
Well, Coach, we appreciate you guys coming in. Let me say again, congratulations. A region championship in duels is always a good thing. It's always an accomplishment, I should say. And given the factors with being a new school, being a small school, for you all to do it is just phenomenal. So congratulations again. Guys, thanks for getting up this morning, coming in and see us, because I know you've had a couple of long days, and we appreciate you doing it. And we wish you the best of luck with individual wrestling. And we try to get state champions back in here, so if you needed extra motivation, you want to come back on the radio next 2 weeks, you can win your way back on the show.
All right.
Well, with that, Mike, I guess we'll go ahead and turn the page.
Okay, Marcus, thanks a lot. It's time to turn the page, and when we return, the Anderson Lumber Company Player of the Week segment will be up. You're listening to the Goatee Sports Page, and now stay tuned for the best in local sports.
The Bluetick Tavern is home to the tastiest pizza in Blount County. Try our signature Broadway barbecue pizza, grilled chicken and red onions covered in mounds of mozzarella. Or sink your teeth into our one-of-a-kind chicken and bacon pizza, made with an olive oil base, grilled chicken, bacon, red onions, and covered in Brussels petals. The Bluetick Tavern also has salads, sandwiches, and the area's largest beer selection. Regularly recognized as the best pizza in Blount County, it's the Bluetick Tavern, located at 128 West Broadway in downtown Maryville. The Roger L. Newman Company began in 1984 with a vision of providing Blount County with excellent heating and cooling service. Mr. Newman also wanted a real business. No gimmicks and no high-pressure sales. They just fix it or replace it. They want to stay within your budget and make you comfortable. Their motto still stands true today. Call us first, we'll be there. Call Roger L. Newman Company at 982-5446 or visit online at rogerlnewman.com. Cooler temperatures are approaching. Upgrade your furnace now for as little as $50 a month.
Your newspaper? That's right. The Daily Times is your newspaper, tailored to where you live, emphasizing the things that affect you and keeping track of the people and players in our community. The award-winning Daily Times can be delivered each morning right to your door or inbox with the latest in local news and sports. For a 30-day free trial offer, call 981-1100 and begin enjoying your life, your times, every day with the Daily Times.
For over 50 years and 3 generations, the people of Blount County have trusted Stevenson Tire with their vehicles and their families. Our mission has always been simple: to provide quality products at reasonable prices with exceptional customer service. Featuring tire products from Michelin, BF Goodrich, Uniroyal, Bridgestone, Firestone, and Yokohama, Stevenson Tire also offers alignment and brake services at affordable prices. Stevenson Tire Company, 2411 East Broadway Avenue in Maryville. Call 983-1621 or online at stevensonTire.net. Waters Equipment is your East Tennessee New Holland agriculture and construction dealer. Waters Equipment has been serving Blount County for 48 years and has 2 locations in Maryville for sales and service for New Holland equipment. Offering shop and field service for trucks and equipment of all brands, Waters offers equipment rentals for New Holland skid steer, Mini X, and tractors. Call 238-9000 for your rental needs. That's 238-9000. Waters Equipment New Holland. Excellence in service.
Welcome back to the Bluetick Tavern in downtown Maryville. This is Mike Edwards along with the rest of our broadcast crew. And now it's time for the Goatees Sports Page Player of the Week segment, sponsored by Anderson Lumber Company, where quality service is always a priority. Proudly serving Blount County for over 75 years. And normally, Marcus Fitzsimmons has got this segment, but we're going to go a little off the cuff this morning.
We're going to go off the cuff and go with a little more basketball, because we had some good stuff going in the first hour about that.
Yeah, let's talk a little bit about again with some UT basketball, and by golly, we've talked about how well this team is playing and how well they're performing inside and out, how well they're performing defensively, and how. Connect has performed from the offensive end, and the excitement there, and the excitement overall that this team has projected to this point. But there's a couple of things we haven't talked about. Tony Iruli, whether it's football or basketball, usually the team that makes the fewest mistakes wins. And coaches are all the time talking about can't make mistakes and win football games or basketball games. And by golly, Alabama came in here last week and turned it over 22 times. Tennessee only turned it over 7.
Wow.
Rick Barnes' basketball teams have prided themselves not turning the ball over, and that's why he's been successful everywhere he's went, because they don't turn the ball over very much. 22 turnovers, you might as well get on the bus and head back to Tuscaloosa, because you're not going to win that game.
Sure, and you're exactly right. You know, that is the distinguishing point of a Coach Barnes basketball team. They don't turn over. They play great defense. They don't turn the ball over. You know, a lot of times, you know, we criticize about this point of the game or that point of the game that, you know, that they're currently playing. But, you know, defense and not committing turnovers is a success really to most whatever sport you're playing right
Absolutely.
there.
And they really bothered Alabama with that, because Tennessee's pressure created a lot of those turnovers. It wasn't Alabama just being sloppy or having Tennessee was creating those turnovers defensively and really frustrating some. Their main players were really having a hard time just getting the ball up the court and trying to get the set up. They were getting down to single digits on the shot clock by the time they were in position to do anything.
I'm going to tell you, and we've talked about this before, Donnie Moore, when you wear somebody out with your defense, the thing that goes with the offense is the legs. And when the legs go, guess what goes? The shooting goes.
That's it.
And that's exactly what happened to Alabama.
Yeah.
They took their legs away from them with the solid defense that they played, and Alabama just basically stunk it up on the offensive end from the outside.
Sure did.
And that was it. Marcus, the other thing that Tennessee does so well is they protect the basket. You know, not much is said about this, but they protect the basket. If somebody comes in there, it looks like they're going to have a layup or whatever, they make them pay. And they usually don't get the bucket. Now, they may go to the free throw line, but they're going to force them to hit a couple of free throws rather than give them the bucket on the inside. They do a great job protecting the basket.
They really do, and, you know, that was what they were not able to do in the loss at Mississippi State, because State was able to stay in the paint, score in the paint, and really not have their way with Tennessee, but they were able to do what they wanted to do, and Tennessee wasn't able to stop it. And I think they had 2 or 3 players foul out trying to slow them down in the paint, and they couldn't do it. And I think that's going to be their biggest concern going forward, is because your big matchup that we're all looking forward to with Kentucky, you got big posts that can score, and you're going to have to stop those guys around the basket.
Yeah. I've sat here the last few weeks at home and so forth, and, Tony, I thought, well, what kind of team can really give Tennessee trouble, not just in the SEC, but as they go into the NCAA tournament. And I think that a team that could really pose a problem would be a team that's, first of all, got a deliberate offense that could shorten the game. They don't turn the ball over very much, and they hit their free throws. Now, you got to look long and hard to find one of those teams in this country, because everybody's playing the pro style of game. But there are some of those teams that are around that could play that chess match with Tennessee and force them to play. Right now, Tennessee's not having to work all that hard on the defensive end because people are taking quick shots.
Yeah, they are.
They're taking quick shots, so if they're taking quick shots, you don't have to work as hard. But if you got a deliberate team that comes down there, let's say a Wisconsin, who they played earlier in the year, and they come down and they take pretty much the shot clock, you're working your legs on defense to try to keep them stopped down there. That's the kind of team that I think in the tournament might give them some problems. Tony, do you see it some other way, or do you see it some other?
I just think that it's you got to have a team that's going to be able to challenge Tennessee defensively, but at the same time be able to hit your free throws, because I think if Tennessee they're going to play great defense, they're going to make you earn every single shot that you make on it, and if you don't make that when a team goes against Tennessee, when they're going for a layup or something close, they know Tennessee's going to be very physical. They're going to collapse on them. And so whether you make the shot or not, if you go on the free throw line, then you got to make your shots and all. But that's just been the mantra.
Yeah. And I think when you look at it, the scary thing that should make Tennessee fans wake up in the middle of the night in little sweats is the higher you are, the better your seed in the NCAA tournament. And Tennessee's looking like they're going to be a 1 or 2, maybe a 3, depending on how things happen next month. But when you're on those types of seeds, that's when you're going to see some of those lower conference schools champions, and they are more likely to be that type of deliberate offense that's going to give you a trouble for Tennessee. You're more likely to run into those as a 2 or a 3 seed than you are as a 6 or a 4, 5, or 6.
Yeah.
So that's the thing you got to worry about. Is that you could be setting yourself up for the worst matchup you could possibly have in the first round.
I mentioned Wisconsin, but you can throw Virginia in that category too.
Oh yeah.
Virginia is one of those deliberate teams that shoot free throws well, and they don't make a lot of mistakes. And there's a few of them around.
That's part of their offense.
There's a few of them around. There's not any in the Big Ten, except Wisconsin. There's not any out, and maybe Northwestern, but there's not any in the Big 12.
No.
Those Big 12 teams, they're going to bully and they're going to run you to death and down the court and try to outscore you. Let's talk about this team right now. Donnie, I'll start with you. Where is this team right now? If the tournament started next, are they a Sweet 16 team like they've been in the past? Are they going to go to the Elite 8 or the Elite 8 team? Are they a Final Four team? Or is this a team you could pencil in right now as a possible national champion?
Well, bless their hearts, they've got to prove to me that they're better than an Elite 8 team. I think they are a legitimate Elite 8 team.
But they haven't been there.
No, they haven't been there.
They haven't been there.
But I think
they got there under Bruce Pearl, but they haven't.
But I'm hopeful that they're an Elite 8 team this year.
Yeah.
They have the talent to be an Elite 8 team, and they have the mesh going for them right now, I think, to be an Elite 8 team.
Yeah.
Well, I think that I agree with exactly what you're saying. I think as they continue through this next month, being able to capitalize on playing against the good teams and doing very well against them and getting those wins, especially the wins on the road. I think that notches them up a little higher and higher than, of course, winning the SEC championship tournament. But I think they're just kind of knocking on the door.
So what are they? Are they Sweet 16 where they've been? Are they Elite 8 team right now, or Final Four, or where are they at?
I think the way they're playing right now, I think they're close to being an Elite 8. I really do.
And it's just the SEC has not had a Final Four team in 3 seasons. And I look at it, and I couldn't tell you which of the top 3 is the best. But I would say all 3 of them, Auburn, Tennessee, and Kentucky, are all Elite 8 level teams. I don't know if any of them would be Final Four teams if they all 3 got to the Elite 8. There's so much unknown at this point.
Good point.
But right now, I would say they're playing like an Elite 8 team. If you want to just take one game in particular with Alabama, yeah, they played a Final Four type game against Alabama. That was a Final Four quality win. So, are they going to be that way today against a Vanderbilt team? I don't know. Yeah. They may look like a Sweet 16 team today.
Well, I'm going to go a little step higher than everybody here, and I know this is two steps beyond where they've gone.
Yeah.
But I'm looking at everybody else play. I'm looking at Purdue play. I'm looking at North Carolina play. They got Tennessee ranked 5th right now. I don't know if Tennessee is in the Elite 8 and they're playing North Carolina, Purdue, or any of those top 4 teams right there. I don't know that any of them are any better than them. I'm thinking right now. Now this could all change in a couple of weeks after Tennessee goes back on the road for some games. Yeah. But I'm saying right here, as we're talking, they're looking as good as any of those top 4 teams in the country to me. I'm saying right now they're a Final Four team. I really believe that. I really believe that.
Well, I think they have the capability to be.
And I feel that way because of the fact that they're playing such great offense right now. They're putting the points up there. They can outscore you, and they can play the great defense.
Yep.
And I think that really is a big advantage when you go on the road because you can shut your offense down a little bit. And Barnes knows when he goes on the road it's a tough deal.
Yep.
He's gonna twerk his defense up a little bit to play better defense on the road than he's played at home. Because he realizes that when you go on the run, it's smart because, a football coach, football fields don't differ a lot. You can go from one stadium to another and it's 100 yards.
Still the same thing.
But in basketball, Donnie, there's a lot of difference going on the road.
You're exactly
the backgrounds are different. That game at Vanderbilt today is a lot different background than you're going to have when you go to Alabama.
You're right.
It's a tough deal offensively. Barnes knows that. Mm-hmm. But if you play great defense on the road, it gives you a chance to win the basketball game.
Sure.
And he knows that. Yeah. And he's got the team that can do that. So,
it's what we talked about earlier. Play great defense. All right, don't commit turnovers. And the thing is, they've been a little bit more explosive offensively. And I think that's the great combination that they got going right now for them.
Yeah. Marcus, Tennessee goes to Vanderbilt today, 6 o'clock on the SEC notebook. Any concerns whatsoever for Tennessee going in there? Vanderbilt is in last place, has not won an SEC game.
And yet you still can't overlook them.
We're talking about football? Or
we're talking about
my bad.
We're talking about basketball, but I guess it's synonymous, pretty much.
I think Tennessee should roll, but this is always such a contested game because it's a rivalry game. And even though it's been a while, I think it harkens back more to the start of Barnes' career at Tennessee, that there's still some animosity between these programs, even though you've got changing players and personnel, but you never can count this one out as a gimme. You're going to have to go earn it today in Nashville.
Donnie, you feel that way?
I do. I don't think you can ever count Vanderbilt out in basketball.
It's a rivalry game.
You think that way, Tony?
Yeah. I think it's a rivalry game.
I don't feel that way. I don't feel that way at all. If you're a Tennessee fan watching the game today, get yourself some peanuts, get yourself some sandwiches, get you a nice cold drink, lay back in your lounge chair, because the most exciting part of this basketball game is the outfit that Jerry Stackhouse is going to have on the sideline for Vanderbilt. That is all they're going to have in this basketball game.
I hope you're right.
They can't shoot the three. I know they've had a week to prepare. I don't care if they've had a year to prepare. they're not going to be in this basketball game.
I hope you're right.
It's not going to happen.
Can't shoot the three.
It's
They
just
can't shoot the two.
I
so
don't
besides
care.
That, they're okay.
I don't care.
There's
too many weapons out there.
I hope you're right. And the only difference I would say is order your pizza from Bluetick's now.
There you go.
But I mean, it could be that way. It should be that way. But you just can't count on it being a 20-point game.
Yeah. Well, we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. Hey, we'll take a break here, and when we come back, Donnie Moore, I think you're up with some sports headlines. And
I know you're right there.
And the
I'm glad you're feeling
so.
better now. You got it all out of your system there. That's
yeah,
good.
okay.
You're
We'll take a break. You're listening to the Goatee Sports page, and now stay tuned for the best in local sports.
Since 1925, Anderson Lumber in Alcoa has proudly served and supported our local communities. But did you know Anderson Lumber is so much more than a lumber store? You can stop in anytime and see our incredible kitchen showroom. From floors to cabinets and everything in between, Anderson Lumber's experts can help you design your dream kitchen. And then our install team will make it a reality. For anything home, we welcome you to visit Anderson Lumber in Alcoa or shop over 67,000 items online at AndersonLumberCompany.com. Anderson Lumber, since 1925.
Aubrey's is known for real comfort, real food, real good. But remember, Aubrey's is also really into Blount County. Aubrey's Maryville has been a strong supporter of local schools and sports programs for more than 15 years. From baseball to football, dance teams, and marching bands, Aubrey's has helped schools and youth programs generate thousands of dollars. It's easy for us to do because it's the right thing to do. So the next time you're looking to choose a place to eat, we hope you'll choose Aubrey's. Real comfort, real food, real good. See what's on the menu at aubreysrestaurants.com.
We all want our loved ones to be safe. Denso in Maryville is at the forefront of creating technology for safer vehicles. Join the automotive industry with Denso in a fast, challenging, clean, and safe environment. They offer great benefits and competitive pay, as well as a convenient on-site healthcare facility, cafes, fitness center, and more. Start your future now. Entry-level production positions start at $16 an hour for second or third shift. Visit densocareers.com/Maryville to learn more and apply.
Merlin's Music World in Maryville is owned and operated by Dylan Davis and has been a fixture in Maryville since 1987. Guitars, amplifiers, lessons, sound system, and video system installations are products available at Merlin's. Merlin's also offers a 24-track digital recording studio featuring audio engineer Rusty Chambers. Visit Merlin's at 1920 East Lamar Alexander Parkway or call 977-0093.
It's payday, and on payday, you want to have access to your money right away. When you enroll for direct deposit at Knoxville TVA Employees Credit Union, your money comes to you with no waiting. It's the fastest and most secure way to get paid. Getting set up is easy. All you need is your account number and our routing number. Find out more at tvacreditunion.com.
Join us now.
Federally insured by NCUA. Some restrictions apply. Ask for details.
Welcome back to the Bluetick Tavern in downtown Maryville. This is Mike Edwards, and it's time for Blount County Sports Hall of Famer Donnie Moore to come in here with some sports headlines, and then we're going to move on with the spotlight. We'll bring back in Coach Tony Iruli, assistant football coach at Carson Newman, and Marcus and Donnie. But first up, we got some headlines, and Donnie, I'll turn it over to you, guy.
Thank you, sir. Well, we've got a few sports headlines on tap here, and brought to you, as always, by Fast Signs.
Very good.
Yeah. There are only 2 more weekends of NFL football left in this season. Tomorrow.
I don't think he's right on that.
I am right about that.
You're not counting the flag football pro game.
I am not. And
okay.
I'm not counting. I'm not counting
That's a pass.
I'm not counting spring football either.
Okay. All right. Fair.
But NFL football left in the season. Tomorrow, the conference championships take place in 2 of America's great cities, one on the eastern seaboard and one on the west coast. At 3 p.m. on CBS, you can watch the Kansas City Chiefs visiting the Baltimore Ravens. Then at 6:30 p.m., the Detroit Lions go west to do battle with the 49ers on the Fox network. The The Super Bowl will feature the survivors of tomorrow's games. This season's winner-take-all contest will be held in Las Vegas at Allegiant Stadium, home of the Raiders, on February 11th. On Wednesday of this week in Wichita, Kansas, a Jackie Robinson statue at League 42 Fields was cut down and hauled away by vandals, per authorities who are still investigating the incident. The statue now consists of just a pair of cleats standing outside of the League 42 youth baseball fields. The statue was erected in 2021 when the Jackie Robinson Pavilion was constructed. Surveillance footage showed a brown truck pulling up to the statue and at least 2 persons working to tear the statue down before hauling it away.
I tell you, that just irritates me.
Why would anybody do that?
I mean, really. I mean, good.
That's pretty low.
It wasn't made of bronze or something, was it? I mean,
yeah,
it was a metal statue. Yeah, I don't know what this.
Well, that took some doing, didn't it?
They just pulled it down and it snapped off right at the ankles. And,
what, they tied a chain to it, or did they get out there and cut it off?
Must have.
Somehow they pulled out. They packed up a truck to it, and I mean, I'm sorry, that pisses me off when I see.
Yeah, it was built to encourage the whole structure, the whole idea of the thing was to encourage baseball for all.
Sure.
Well, it's not like you can just show up at the metal recycling place with a statue of Jackie Robinson in the back of the truck and turn it in, right?
Yeah.
Where are you going with that thing? Like they wouldn't know where you got it?
And they got a video of the truck going up to the statue and pulling it down and putting the back bed.
Well, I mean, you're not going to put it in the yard behind the trailer with the deer.
I guarantee you they'll find out, because you do something like this, I mean, believe me.
Yeah. Everybody's on the lookout for that thing.
Yeah, and you got video cameras all over the places, at intersections. That truck's going to have to drive somewhere and all that. They'll find out who that scum is.
I guarantee you they'll find out. Well, Montreal Canadiens forward, this is NHL news, Montreal Canadiens forward Brendan Gallagher has been given a 5-game suspension for an illegal check to the head of New York Islanders defenseman Adam Pelech. The NHL announced the suspension yesterday, after a disciplinary phone hearing with Gallagher, who was given a match penalty, which is pretty severe, and ejected for hitting Pelech in the head with his elbow midway through the third period of the team's game Thursday night. Pelech, who has a history of concussions, did not return to the game. The blow was considered to be intentional, and Gallagher will forfeit $169,271 in salary while he is under suspension.
That's expensive for him.
Pretty severe.
Yeah.
Get this article. Transgender swimmer Leah Thomas has asked the Court of Arbitration for Sport, otherwise known as the CAS, to overturn a policy that would prevent her,
him, or whoever
from women's races at elite competitions, the Swiss-based court announced yesterday. Thomas is the first openly transgender athlete to win an NCAA championship at the Division I level. She argues that the gender inclusion policy created by the Swimming's International Federation, World Aquatics, is discriminatory. In 2022, the Federation's policy effectively banned transgender swimmers from competing in men's or women's elite competitions such as the Olympic Games or World Championships, while proposing the creation of open category races for transgender competitors.
Too bad.
She says it doesn't let her compete in elite competitions.
Yeah. Like I said, too bad.
You feel sorry for her?
I have a scientific.
Not a bit.
I have a scientific thing about it.
Whatever.
Which is, at that level, at that type of competition, and I'm surprised it did not come up with the NCAA at their championships. We've seen it with Lance Armstrong, and it is one of the prime reasons these rules are that they are using for these rules.
Yeah.
When you are taking all those types of medication that you were taking, and when you have made that choice.
Yeah.
it is almost impossible to drug test you. You can disguise almost anything behind the medications you're taking. It is impossible to do it, and that's why you can't do it. That's why you could be taking horse steroids and they couldn't detect it.
It would be almost imperceptible, wouldn't it?
Yeah. So it's an impossible ask and when the stakes at that level of competition are going on, it's you can't do it. There's no way to do this.
Well,
but move on and go on. We've got better headlines ahead.
I'm glad you brought some common sense to this conversation. Too bad Ray Trail's not here.
We'd have been the FCC would already be on the phone.
We'd be already off.
I wouldn't have read that.
I held
wouldn't
back.
have put that in the headlines if Ray had been here. Well, I got a couple of on this day items here for January 27th. A couple of birthdays. 1901, Art Rooney. You know that name.
Yeah.
Pittsburgh Steelers team founder, owner, and chairman from 1933 to 1988. Long time.
He did good.
He sure did. Born in Coulterville, Pennsylvania. Died in 1988. That was the end of his ownership because he died.
Yeah.
1988. They still commemorate him on their jerseys sometimes.
As they should and all that.
Indeed.
He was a great leader for that.
Sure was.
Franchise.
That organization. Yeah. 1959. Birthday on this day, January 27th, Chris Collinsworth.
Really?
Yep. NFL wide receiver and TV sportscaster. Does a great job.
Florida Gator.
Yeah.
Yep.
He's a Gator.
Yeah, I think his son's a broadcaster too, a sideline broadcaster or something like that.
Could be.
Cool.
I believe you're right. Deaths on this day, 1991. I put this one on here because it was an interesting sideline. Dale Long. I don't think I'd ever heard of this guy, but he was a Major League Baseball
played with
infielder.
the Cubs.
Cubs?
Yeah, I played with the Cubs. Dale Long, left-handed hitter.
Yeah,
really.
He played for the Pirates and the Cubs and 4 other teams. But the interesting thing about Dale Long, played in 1955 to 1963. He was an infielder. He hit home runs in 8 consecutive games.
Did he really?
Yeah. Pretty good streak right there.
Yeah.
8 consecutive games. Pirates, Cubs, and 4 other teams. Died of cancer at the age of 64.
Remember
Died
him.
in 1991.
I got his baseball card.
Nice.
Yeah.
So, Donnie, we should note in passing, and we'll go by your fan level here as to how much you want to put behind this or how you feel about it. UGA 9 passed this week.
UGA 9 passed this week, didn't he? Yeah.
Won part of 2 national championships at UGA.
Championships, that's
but
true.
he was in retirement, I believe, and his replacement was on the field this season.
UGA 10. That's it. You're right.
Oh, you're talking about the Bulldogs.
Yeah,
the Bulldogs.
Okay, I was
English Bulldogs.
Georgia. I'm thinking who Georgia? I missed that player.
Mascot of the University of
All
Georgia.
right.
Tony was going to Uga. Did he play defensive back, linebacker?
That's what I was thinking.
What did those letters stand for? Uga. That's a nickname.
That's what was going through my mind.
Midnight in the Garden of Good and Evil.
Yeah.
UGA.
Yeah, there you go.
And 2012, death on this date, Greg Cook. Played for the Cincinnati Bengals, football player. Anybody remember him? Greg Cook?
Was he quarterback?
Greg Cook. I don't remember who Greg Cook
I recall
was.
the name, but I couldn't recall
Just
his
vaguely
career.
remember him.
Yeah.
Played for the Cincinnati Bengals. Died at the age of 65. He's kind of slim this week.
Quarterback.
Well, that's
wasn't
good.
he? I think
I
you're
thought
right.
he was a quarterback.
I think he was.
We were
Was he
talking
one of
about the deaths category. It's supposed to.
With
it's
the
a
franchise
franchise.
first
He was
year.
in the
that's
Super
good.
Bowl against the San Francisco Giants, wasn't he? When that great Cook quarterback in that team.
Could have been.
We will look it up.
Could have been. Look it up, Tony. But in the meantime, that's all for this week's Sports Headlines, brought to you by Fast Signs, one of our boss's many holdings.
Which beats slow messages.
That's true. It does. Now let's bring the Boyd Sports Spotlight into sharp focus. It's nice to be able to say this for the first time in a few weeks. Back to you, Gunner.
Okie doke. Thanks very much.
Okay, real quick. Greg Cook, quarterback.
There you go.
Quarterback for Cincinnati Bengals. He played at Cincinnati.
Yeah.
And,
Cool.
I think he was one of the first quarterbacks with a franchise.
There you go.
Good deal.
All right.
Good job,
okay.
Tony.
I'm done.
Let's talk some SEC basketball right here. And before we do that, Joe Lenardi's got Tennessee this past week in the South region. Got them paired up against St. Peter's in the first round in Charlotte. Well, that's pretty close to Knoxville, Charlotte. And then in that region, there are Baylor's in that region, Alabama's in that region, according to Lenard. North Carolina's in that region, Marquette and Michigan State all in that region. So, there's a lot of parity in college basketball. Probably more parity this year, Marcus, than in any other years. And we've been able to talk about that here each year for the last several years. But this year, I'm looking at that deal. Heck, there could be from 1 through 15 in the rankings. They can make a run.
It depends on who's hot and who's healthy.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. SEC basketball, we had 4 teams. Mississippi lost, but they were in the top 25. Tennessee is number 5, Kentucky number 6, and Auburn number 8. Donnie, Kentucky lost this week,
right.
And Auburn lost down at Alabama in a close basketball game. But how do you see this SEC race? Right, you think it's a Tennessee, Kentucky, Alabama, Auburn, 4 teams maybe got a chance right now?
I think those are the front runners right now. I think those teams are the ones that people ought to be worried about. I don't think anybody else will come to the forefront. LSU, nope. Nah, they don't. I don't think they've got.
South Carolina, Marcus, pretty good defensive team. Of course, they're coming into Knoxville next week. They got a couple of road wins, and they've turned that program around. And Georgia, if Georgia had beaten Tennessee down there, Georgia's got a couple of road wins.
Yeah,
I'm amazed at looking at the standings here. Some of those teams that were down at the bottom last year, they're making a pretty good run in the conference early this year.
They are, and there's some improvement. I think you've got the trending up. You've got a South Carolina. You've got a Georgia. I would put Mississippi State in there, even though their win total's not showing that, but I think the level of play is trending up. Mm-hmm. And then you've got the ones that were bubbling last year, they're trending down. You've got Missouri, who does not look as good. Arkansas, that doesn't look as good.
No.
But I think your top 3 are pretty solid. Alabama, I think, still has to prove itself a little bit more. The win over Auburn will help, but if you're a voter, you're balancing what happened in Knoxville versus winning at home against Auburn. Yeah. So I think the top of this conference is as good as anybody else's top 3. The bottom of this conference is probably worse than everybody else's bottom 3. I mean, the SEC is just from one end to the other. But you've got so much parity.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's NIL. I don't know if it's the transfer, the wide openness, but
they've got Tennessee number 2. As far as the NCAA pairings, right? Joe Lenardi's got them as a number 2. But I'm looking to schedule, and they got 2 games with Kentucky, and they got 1 game with Auburn. But other than that, everybody else is unranked. So I don't know how do you help yourself outside of those 3 games as far as moving up to maybe a 1 seed, or can you maintain a 2 seed?
All you got to do is win. But you've got room to maybe you split with Kentucky. That's fine. Back in November we talked about this. Tennessee had played some of the best teams out there. They didn't win as many of those as they wanted to, but they were competitive in all of them. And when they start looking at that schedule, the fact that they lost at UNC, okay, but they were right. It was a 2-point game, and they were at UNC, and it's going to look a little bit different at that point. And I think that's always helps their seed in the tournament.
Right now, in the league, you got Auburn 5-1, Alabama 5-1, Tennessee 4-1, South Carolina 4-2, Kentucky 4-2, Georgia 4-2, and then You got Texas A&M, LSU 3-3, Ole Miss 3-3, and Florida 3-3. You know, Tony, it doesn't take a weekend, a Saturday and a Wednesday or a Saturday and a Tuesday. Couple of wins there, you can move up pretty quick in this league, can't you?
Yeah, it doesn't take very much. You get
with how close, especially there in the middle.
Right.
Yeah.
So we'll see. We'll see what goes on. Let's take a look at today's schedule. Number 6, Kentucky's at Arkansas. That's a 6 o'clock game on ESPN. Kentucky's going to be coming off a road loss at South Carolina, and they've had trouble on the road. Arkansas, it doesn't matter whether they're playing at home or on the road, Tony. They're crap either way they play.
Yeah.
I don't know what's wrong with that outfit down there. And usually they would be, at Bud Walton Arena today.
Oh, yeah.
That'd be a hot game. Maybe it's going to be a hot game anyway. I don't know. But Arkansas has been a major disappointment so far.
Yeah, and people forget, that was really a tradition-rich program, 10, 15, 20 years ago where, you go in Arkansas, if you don't win, but you're going to get beaten up pretty good.
Yeah.
And they've really dropped off.
I'm just baffled as why game day is there.
Oh, game day is there.
Game day is there for Kentucky, Arkansas.
I would say,
I
would say that the snow and the weather got them hunkered down there somehow on the road, and they just decided to have the
they
game
said we're not going north.
Yeah, we're not. We're stuck here. Let's just have this game.
Kentucky's a good one. But Kentucky's trip to Arkansas just baffles me as to why that was a game day pick. But Kentucky, since they've had they've had this guy for 2 games, and I want to see what else he can do, especially on the road. But having a guy that is 7'2" and can shoot the 3-pointer, I mean, he's stick thin, but wow, he is just impressive.
Yeah. Number 8, Auburn, is at Mississippi State. That's 3:30 on the SEC Network. Auburn lost a tough one on the road at Alabama. Man, I tell you what, that was a good basketball game. I watched that deal, and both teams got after each other. That was a different Alabama team than what we saw in Knoxville.
It's Alabama,
sure.
Auburn. Yeah, I mean,
I had a full house down there. Of course, it was a rivalry game. And now they got to go to Mississippi State, and that's going to be a tough assignment. That's where Tennessee lost there. But I'm impressed with what Bruce Pearl has done with that Auburn team here early in the year. They're 16-3, and for the longest time, they weren't ranked.
They got no respect in November,
absolutely
December.
No respect. And I'm thinking, what is everybody looking at here? This is a pretty good basketball team, but they've gotten the respect the last few weeks. So this is a huge game for them if they want to stay in this race to win at Mississippi State, because Tennessee is going to be up there near the top, and they didn't win there. So this can really help them to get back into the race and stay up there toward the top with a win at Mississippi State today.
Yeah. Do you feel like that there's still a kind of a bias towards Pearl, based on his pre-career before?
Well, I don't know. He had some losses, from last year. But they've played well, pretty much all year long. But he's got them playing Auburn basketball, Tennessee Pearl basketball, and they're a contender. They're a contender in the league. Ole Miss is at Texas A&M. That's an 8:30 game on the SEC Network. Both of those teams are 3-3, and Ole Miss, Donnie, got off to the fast start, undefeated, came to Knoxville, got beat. They're now 16-3 overall, but they're 3-3 in the Southeastern Conference.
Right.
So I guess maybe some of those early wins weren't against.
They must not have been quality wins.
Yeah. They went Krogering right through the deli.
I guess. And Texas A&M.
Got those little brownie cupcakes.
Pretty good outfit. Right. Pretty good outfit there at home. A&M is, and so.
They're 12-7 overall.
Yeah. Missouri is at South Carolina, 1 o'clock on the SEC Network. I think the Gamecocks should continue to roll at home, and they can then set their sights on coming to Knoxville next week in a huge game against Tennessee. And by golly, if South Carolina, I don't think they're going to have any trouble today with Missouri. And I think that because South Carolina, they're playing great defense. They've done a great job.
They are, but
16-3 overall.
What does you always say after the big win? Because they're coming off that upset at Kentucky, and an 18-point upset of a top 10 Kentucky. It's that next game So you got to capitalize. You got to capitalize and win that home game.
They're in the same deal Tennessee's in. There's Missouri down there at 0-6. They've not beaten anybody, and they're kind of riding high over there, and they've beaten Kentucky. So there's going to be a letdown, Tony. There's got to be a little bit of a letdown. Huh?
Yeah, it's a tough place to play.
Yeah. Georgia is at Florida, 12 o'clock on ESPN2. Georgia, to me, Marcus, one of those surprise teams. They're 14-5, and they've struggled down there the last couple of years in the league, but playing well right now. And of course, they got to go down to Florida. That's a tough place to play, but we'll see.
I'll just make my guess on this by later tonight. There's going to be some Florida fans asking, why did we let Coach White go?
Yeah.
Or why did we run him off? Because he's in his second year at Georgia, but he's made an impact.
Yeah.
And you can see them visibly playing better than they did 2 years ago.
2 weeks ago when Tennessee was in Athens and they playing and they've got that crowd down there and they're rolling and they're up by what, Donnie, 12, 13 points,
yeah.
I think, with 5 minutes to go. I'm just sitting back and thinking, hey, they're gonna pull the upset right here. And then Tennessee come back and got them and kind of won going away right there at the end. But to me, this is just me talking. I think that's one Tennessee got away with.
I think you're right.
I think they got away with it that day, and I think Georgia outplayed them pretty much, except, well, they didn't outplay them the first half.
Yeah.
But Georgia outplayed them pretty much the second half. And the last 5 minutes, I think that's the difference between having a kind of an inexperienced team and an experienced team, that last 5 minutes of Georgia.
And for all they've been able to do so far, Georgia is still relatively young as far as being a part of Georgia basketball. And like I said, Coach White's done a lot with them. And he's only really scratching the surface with what's going on. And he could make Georgia dangerous again. They've gone through that lull. They're back on the rise with him right now.
Yeah.
Hey, isn't Georgia's head basketball coach a brother of athletic director at Tennessee?
Well, Georgia's an 8-point underdog. I don't know whether Florida can.
It's a road game.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's true.
It's at Florida, but I just have a feeling Georgia's tough, and maybe I've got a slanted view because I didn't see a lot from Florida, but when they played here, but maybe that was a matchup thing.
Could have been. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, we got a few minutes left here, and it's going to be an exciting day in SEC basketball, and we'll see how the standings turn out after today. But let's talk a little bit about the Lady Vols, Marcus. They beat Vanderbilt 73-64 last week. Kelly Harper got her 100th victory, and they're 12-6 overall, 5-1 in the SEC, and that certainly helped them as far as the NCAA tournament because a lot of people didn't have them in, at this particular point. So they got a huge win against Vanderbilt at home.
It's one they had to win. And I guess I'm pessimistic because I still think of the level Tennessee should be playing at, and they're not on that par because you saw LSU and South Carolina play this week, and there is such a huge separation between those two programs and everybody else, not just in the conference but in the country. There's very few teams that can compete on that level. That was a heavyweight fight, and wow, both those teams are just impressive.
Yeah. This Lady Vol basketball team has been a little bit surprising, Tony, as they like to spot teams 13 or 14 points and come back.
And they sure make it.
They're sort of like the racehorse, that holds back until he gets back about 3/4 of the way down to the backstretch, and then they go, all right, it's time to turn it on right here.
Yeah, well, and they're playing better basketball, so the heat's off Kelly Harper's back just a little bit, right now.
I would think so.
5-1.
And it could be that they're trying to make up for all those years where they were up by 20 at halftime.
I guess.
And they lost out on all those second-half concession sales. So now when you're coming out of a hole and fans are standing in their seat and watching you rally, you sell a lot more to concession sales.
Well, in all fairness, early in the year they had some injuries. Tia Jackson was
still have some injury bugs to deal with.
Yeah. Well, they're at Ole Miss tomorrow at 3 o'clock, and that'll be a big test for them because Ole Miss, very strong on the defensive end. They're 13-5 overall. The Rebels are 3-2 in the SEC. So another good test tomorrow, and hopefully the Lady Vols can continue their move upward. All right, Donnie's over there telling me it's time to take a break, so we're going to do exactly that. And when we return, we're going to make some bold predictions. You're listening to the Goatee Sports page, and now stay tuned for the best in local sports.
Waters Equipment is your East Tennessee New Holland agriculture and construction dealer. Waters Equipment has been serving Blount County for 48 years and has 2 locations in Maryville for sales and service for New Holland equipment. Offering shop and field service for trucks and equipment of all brands, Waters offers equipment rentals for New Holland skid steer, Mini X, and tractors. Call 238-9000 for your rental needs. That's 238-9000. Waters Equipment New Holland, excellence in service. For over 50 years and 3 generations, the people of Blount County have trusted Stevenson Tire with their vehicles and their families. Our mission has always been simple: to provide quality products at reasonable prices with exceptional customer service. Featuring tire products from Michelin, BF Goodrich, Uniroyal, Bridgestone, Firestone, and Yokohama, Stevenson Tire also offers alignment and brake services at affordable prices. Stevenson Tire Company, 2411 East Broadway Avenue in Maryville. Call 983-1621 or online at StevensonTire.net.
Your newspaper? That's right. The Daily Times is your newspaper, tailored to where you live, emphasizing the things that affect you and keeping track of the people and players in our community. The award-winning Daily Times can be delivered each morning right to your door or inbox with the latest in local news and sports. For a 30-day free trial offer, call 981-1100 and begin enjoying your life, your times, every day with the Daily Times.
The Bluetick Tavern is home to the tastiest pizza in Blount County. Try our signature Broadway barbecue pizza, grilled chicken and red onions covered in mounds of mozzarella. Or sink your teeth into our one-of-a-kind chicken and bacon pizza, made with an olive oil base, grilled chicken, bacon, red onions, and covered in Brussels petals. The Bluetick Tavern also has salads, sandwiches, and the area's largest beer selection. Regularly recognized as the best pizza in Blount County, it's the Bluetick Tavern, located at 128 West Broadway in downtown Maryville. The Roger L. Newman Company began in 1984 with a vision of providing Blount County with excellent heating and cooling service. Mr. Newman also wanted a real business. No gimmicks and no high-pressure sales. They just fix it or replace it. They want to stay within your budget and make you comfortable. Their motto still stands true today. Call us first, we'll be there. Call Roger L. Newman Company at 982-5446 or visit online at rogerlnewman.com. Cooler temperatures are approaching. Upgrade your furnace now for as little as $50 a month.
Welcome back to the Bluetick Tavern in downtown Maryville. This is Mike Edwards, and it's time for this week's bold prediction segment. I've got Donnie Moore, Marcus Fitzsimmons, and Tony Iruli here with me. And before we get started, Tony, let's talk about Jim Harbaugh. You know, he's leaving Michigan. He's heading to the San Diego Chargers. That means him and his brother both are in the NFL now.
Both in the NFL again.
Yeah, so.
And I think Harbaugh played for the Chargers, too.
Yeah.
Well, during his NFL career.
Well.
Yeah, he doesn't have to worry about the NCAA anymore. He's at Michigan, won the national championship. There's no more that he has to prove up there anymore. So they say, all right, time to go.
Time to get out of Dodge, and we'll let you all figure out all the crap I left you there.
Yeah, he's going to bring the sign stealer with him, and he's going to work on staff.
I mean, from the moment he hired an agent, I mean, I think that was a sign of. You could read the signs there that
They all got agents.
No, he didn't.
Oh, he did not.
He did not. He hired a NFL level agent in December, right after Thanksgiving, I think, and that was you could read the signs and say, okay, he's thinking about negotiations at an NFL level.
Yeah, and there were a lot of jobs open up there. So there was about 7 or 8 jobs that opened up, and he was going to take his pick.
And it's probably the best thing for everyone concerned.
Yeah,
maybe not the Chargers. They think it is, and that if it works out for them, great. But I think he and Michigan were at the point they were going to have to part ways for various reasons, given what's coming down the pike. So, or what looks like it's coming down the pike.
And with him gone, that probably means that NCAA probably ease up a little bit, maybe. Who knows?
Well, they're showing. We thought we had the NCAA figured out with the Tennessee investigation, how it went, and then we turn around and we see what's going on with the Florida investigation now, and it's just like it's a complete 180 from what we saw. So maybe we have no clue how they're supposed to operate anymore.
Yeah. But he can go ahead and get Colin Kaepernick to be his quarterback coach.
He's going into the Chargers have got a lot of the pieces there, and they've got the pieces. Yeah. They've got the pieces he specializes in, and. We'll see what he does. I think he's won everywhere he went. So it's probably.
I think he's had a choice of 2-3 different places, and he was going to go the one that's going to give him the best opportunity.
Well, if it gets rough out there,
and the best weather.
The weather's warm, so that'll be fine.
Ann Arbor or San Diego, that's no choice right there.
I mean, he can call his brother and say, "Hey, is it cold in Baltimore? Because it's 80 out here on the beach today."
Yeah, I'm out here on the beach like this, and hey, send me some extra game film, Mike. We're playing the 49ers next game here. Help me out a little bit.
Hey, let's make some predictions, and we'll try to be better than Terry Bradshaw and Jimmy Johnson. Those guys on the NFL.
Yeah,
I watched those guys make their predictions. I like the week that Dallas and Green Bay played, and they all held up Dallas. How about them Cowboys? Cowboys?
Right. They blew that one, didn't they?
Blew it. All of them blew it.
That's right.
Every one of them.
The spirit of Vince Lombardi returned.
Yeah. Well, let's start with Kansas City at Baltimore. Tony, who you like in there? You gonna pick against Patrick Mahomes?
I am going with Baltimore.
Oh my gosh.
Baltimore. I mean, it's a tough, physical team. Just make sure that you knock them out so you don't have to see that Taylor Swift person anymore and all that. So knock her out of it. So seriously, Baltimore is playing very well. I mean, your quarterback's outstanding. Tough physical offensive line. It's going to be a very physical game, especially being over in Baltimore.
Marcus?
I'm with Tony. I'm going to take the Ravens, and maybe not for the same reason, but that heart of that defense for the Ravens, like the very center of it, linebackers, you've got an all-pro in the middle of that defensive line. I think it's going to give the Chiefs fits, and I won't say it's a guarantee, but Patrick Mahomes would have to have the game of his career today, I think, for the Chiefs to win this. So I'm going to take the safe pick with the Ravens.
Okay. Donnie?
Well, I'm going to say, first of all, let me say whoever wins this football game wins the Super Bowl.
Ooh, he's going a step further.
He already made his pick for the Super Bowl then. Okay.
Yep.
So you're going to go.
That's my feeling right there.
Okay.
Whoever wins this.
Well, that's not going out of the ordinary. That's not going out of the ordinary too much. You got Detroit playing over there in the other deal, and they've not done anything since, I don't know, Henry Ford put a first Model T on the line, have they?
Yeah. So who you picking?
And I'm going to say, if Kansas City doesn't turn the ball over, they can win this game.
So who you taking?
But
he's the lead up. It's the bait and switch.
He has worked on this one.
It's a home game for Baltimore, and that's going to give them the edge.
Okie doke.
So I'm going to take Baltimore.
Okay, fine. I'm going to make it short and sweet. I'm taking the Patrick Mahomes Chiefs. Mahomes Chiefs. And I'll even throw in Taylor Swift.
Now he wants to see Jason Kelsey's hairy chest again.
I'm not betting against Patrick Mahomes. I'm just not going to do it. I'm just sorry.
Yep. The thing is,
they've been there, done it.
How do you stop Lamar Jackson? I mean, he's a very good quarterback, but when things aren't open, I mean, that guy has the ability to.
You got two quarterbacks that are entertaining today.
Oh, yeah, I mean, it's going to be a great matchup.
But I think right now the Ravens have a lot more weapons around Lamar Jackson than Mahomes has around him.
My heart says Chiefs, but my head says Ravens.
Okay, well, all right.
You get Swifty over here.
I'll give you guys. I'll send off for some Taylor Swift pictures to give you
all
her picture next week. You want an 8x10 or a 5x7?
Can you get the Jason Kelsey cake? Have you seen that?
Yeah.
It's the cookie cake and it's got all the chocolate chips for chest hair.
Yeah.
Oh.
Hey, Detroit Lions.
As long as I don't get the nipple part.
San Francisco 49ers, Marcus.
I'm going to go with the unpopular pick. I'm going to take Detroit. I like their edge rushing, and the 49ers have had trouble with that.
Okay, Donnie?
Yeah. I'm going to pick the Lions as well, just because I like them.
He wants the underdog story to work out here.
I do.
All right. I'm going to go with the 49ers because I'm almost positive that Detroit's going to think this is a Thanksgiving Day game, and they don't ever win on Thanksgiving Day. Huh?
Yeah.
Huh?
For years, they've never won.
No. Lord, no. All they have to do is roll out a great big turkey and put it on the 50-yard line, and it'll be over. Go ahead, Tony. Who you like?
I like both teams a lot. And I'm going to go with 49ers.
There you go.
I'm going to go with 49ers.
There you go.
McCaffrey, I like
all right.
quarterback.
We'll next week I'll bring the Taylor Swift pictures, and we'll put on a little bit of Tony Bennett. I left my heart in San Francisco for Donnie and Marcus.
There
what do you
go.
think?
We can do that.
We're being picked on here.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you got the signed autograph cards for Taylor Swift?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Hey, Tennessee at Vanderbilt. Anybody like Vanderbilt? Nope.
No.
Lady Vols at Mississippi. Marcus?
Yeah. Give me Mississippi. It's a road game.
Donnie?
Yeah, I'm gonna take Ole Miss too.
I got the Lady Vols. I come back from Indiana. I'm all Vol.
I'm going Vol too.
I'm all Vol.
I got your back.
I'm all Vol. Just every week now, I'm all Vol.
There you go. You have returned, and it's so good to have you back.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is, Mike.
Yeah. All right. Are we time to get out of here? Blow the whistle. Hey, that'll do it for today's edition of the Goatee Sports Page. Thanks to Aaron Ishmael. Back at Loud Media, our host, the Bluetick Tavern, and all our sponsors. For Donnie Moore, Marcus Fitzsimmons, and Tony Iruli, until next Saturday, this is Mike Edwards, the Greenfield Gunner, wishing everyone good sports.